Ooh, I look hot. If I do say so myself.
Pokemon. I know it, you know it. For as far back as I can remember, it's been a part of my life. I grew up playing the games, watching the anime, collecting the cards, which me and my sister like to pretend we knew how to play. It's always been something I've been able to turn to when I'm sick of everything else. I decided that for my first video on the channel, it just had to be something Pokemon based, you know? When brainstorming ideas with a friend, he simply mentioned a normal only run in Brilliant Diamond Shining Pearl. Why BDSP specifically? Because this woman is the devil and will sweep the floor with anyone that wasn't prepared. I know we all say the newer games are easier and for babies, and I mean, for some that's the case, looking at you X and Y. But let's not pretend that a core reason some of the older games were harder were simply because we were basically toddlers. And because their difficulty almost purely relied on the Elite Four's Pokemon being much higher level than anyone realistically wanted to grind to. That's not hard, that's just time consuming and annoying. Now, BDSP, for all its faults, knew how to make an actually difficult Elite Four. I remember my first playthrough when it came out just completely caught me off guard, and I loved it. This is the kind of stuff I've been wanting from the series. And so it was decided. I named my character Vanilla and my rival Chocolate, and I headed back into the Sinnoh region once again. After his daily allotted screen time, Chocolate decided he wanted to go look for a red Gyarados in our local lake, and as a fellow shiny enthusiast myself, I obliged and we headed out to the lake, where we ran into Professor Rowan and Lucas, who almost immediately left, which did feel a tad rude. Me and Chocolate were attacked by Wild Starly, and I was faced with normally the most important choice in any Pokemon game. What starter do I choose? However, this choice meant literally nothing to me, or so I thought. See, I was just like, I'll pick Turtwig, he's literally the first ball, no need to think about this. But I forgot that meant Chocolate would be taking Chimchar, who, you know, becomes a fighting type, my only weakness. I want to pretend that I did this to add more challenge, but nope, I'm not that desperate for a challenge. So anyway, we take out the Starly, and Lucas came back from the briefcase just a hair too late, while me and Chocolate headed home. My mom said I should do the responsible thing and go talk to Rowan, so I do because like, obviously Mom, literally where else could I even go? He decides to let me keep Turtwig, so I thanked him, bought some Pokeballs, caught a Bidoof that I named Beaver, and released Turtwig immediately. I then poked around a hair more and got a Starly as well, named Bird. After stopping back home to let my mom know I was off to become the most basic trainer imaginable, she gave me a cute little hat and I headed out to begin training up my team. It wasn't long before Bird learned his first useless move, Wing Attack. I know what you're thinking, did he just say useless? Wing Attack is a great early game flying move. To which I say, were you not listening? I said normal only, not normal Pokemon only. See, a monotype run is nothing. That's not worth a video. I've done monotype runs a dozen times before. Normal move only runs aren't even new. However, I'm doing a combination of the two, which severely ups the difficulty of this run. Now, I'm gonna take a quick second to explain what this all means because like, my mom's gonna be watching this video, okay? And she probably thinks that this is a baby Charizard. For those that aren't familiar with the game mechanics, Pokemon have types. Fire, water, electric, etc., so on. And all types have weaknesses. For example, a fire type Pokemon is weak to water, water's weak to electric. Makes sense, you know? At least for the most part. Like, why is dark weak to bug? Hell if I know. And not only do Pokemon themselves have types, but all moves have types as well. For example, Flamethrower is a fire type move, so if you use Flamethrower on a grass type Pokemon like Turtwig, it'll be super effective, meaning it'll do twice as much damage. What does this all mean in terms of this challenge though? See, defensively, normal type Pokemon do only have one drawback. They're weak to fighting type moves, and luckily they're completely immune to ghost type moves. Sounds good, right? However, when you look at things offensively, normal type moves are not super effective against literally any other type, meaning I'll never hit anything for more than neutral damage. On top of that, it's resisted by rock types and steel types, meaning it will do half damage, and also has no effect against ghost types. And hey, guess what? In this quiet region of Sinnoh, we have a rock type gym, a steel type gym, and a ghost type gym. So basically, I have no idea what I'm even gonna do, but we'll figure out something. Hopefully. Anyway, I had my first battle with Chocolate and it went fine, but beyond that, nothing too much of note happened on my way to the first gym I'll be facing. The rock type gym, led by Roark. Yep, facing a rock type specialist already. First one's a doozy for this challenge. I went and grabbed him from the mines, and Vanilla not being one to back down from a challenge, we headed in to just try our luck. Yep, I expected as much. It's okay, we'll just keep doing that. We'll wear him down eventually and okay, never mind. Literally only did a quarter of health on his very first Pokemon. Granted, I was pretty underleveled for him, but still, I thought I'd at least take out the Geodude or something. I desperately looked around for any other options before resorting to just grinding and leveling up to close that gap. I want to make it clear that I want to avoid overleveling as much as possible in this challenge. That just trivializes the whole thing. That being said, I felt the only way I was making a dent into this first gym was with overleveling some at least. I began hatching up the first of many strategies I'd need to get through this challenge. I evolved Bird and taught it Endeavor, a move which will always lower the opposing Pokemon's health to match the user's, as well as the move Double Team, which increases Bird's evasion, meaning moves are much more likely to miss him. My plan was to let Bird get to a low health intentionally while I spam Double Team, then endeavor to bring Rorik's team low as well, and then use a quick attack to finish them off. However, that strategy still never managed to work out. I just couldn't get Bird to that low of a level without him still just being picked off by a move they got off. After 3 more losses to him, I honestly thought about stopping the challenge already. I hated how I was resorting to overleveling and felt it was already tainting the challenge. I just sucked it up, leveled up Beaver as well a couple more levels so he could just evolve, and gave it another attempt with a brand new strategy I've been cooking up over the night. Let Beaver just bash his brains out while he headbutted the rocks. And it worked. Literally, that was it. I beat the gym, and Beaver, the only Pokemon used in that battle, was only 1 level higher than Rorik's highest Pokemon, which is something I can definitely live with, given the circumstances. Literally 5 hours into the run already, and I was finally able to make some progress again. I ran into some Team Galactic grunts, a villainous group that steals Pokemon from trainers, and have hair that looks like this, perhaps their biggest crime to be honest. They were just a pushover though, but seems like there's some trouble brewing that we'll inevitably have to take care of eventually, cause, you know, we're the protagonist and whatnot. Anyway, I kept heading towards Eterna City, the site of the second gym, but first, this old couple gave me a free Mew and Jirachi. I completely forgot that these games give you 2 completely free mythical Pokemon before you even made it to the second gym. However, I need you to read the title of the video again. It had to be done. I ran into more Galactic grunts that were, trying to steal honey. I took care of them and continued on to Valley Windworks, an energy plant to confront one of their 3 commanders, Mars. She tells me that Team Galactic plans to create a brand new world, and I guess honey is a key part of that plan? I don't know, I wasn't listening. I was pretty distracted by, yeah. Anyway, Bird made short work of her pure ugly, and we sent her packing. Honey lovers everywhere rejoice. Our last obstacle before arriving to the next gym was Eterna Forest, where we paired up with Cheryl, a woman who travels with you throughout the forest and keeps you healed. I was actually planning on this specifically because I wanted to use this as a time to do some grinding because she heals you after every battle for free. Not to mention the fact double battles mean twice as much XP. I also wanted to use this time to get me a Baneri for the team as well. I think they're cute, and while I don't plan to keep it on the team long term, I felt at this point, the bigger my team the better. I specifically tried to look for one with Runaway as well, since upon evolving into Lopunny, the ability would become Cute Charm, which I felt could be an option I could abuse in some tougher battles. I even made sure to grab a female one as well, since I assumed that most of the Pokemon I'd be encountering throughout the game would be male, and it took a few encounters, but I did finally get one, and named it Bunny. We got through the forest, and I planned to take on the gym immediately, but first I was greeted by simultaneously the best and most terrifying character in all of Pokemon, Cynthia. Not too much happens here, but get ready to see that face quite a bit. Also, to continue my sidetracking, I forgot about the underground, which I also gained access to at this time. It's a big maze where you can do fun stuff like making a base and digging the wall for rare items, but I suddenly remembered that the underground caverns were a thing, full of Pokemon I hadn't been considering when planning my team. I snagged a Lickitung that I named Tongue, which was basically never used and boxed almost immediately. However, I did get me a Teddiursa named Bear, and that thing was an animal, pun only slightly intended. It earned its spot on my team, no questions asked, and I headed into the gym. A grass one, led by Gardenia. My first attempt again led to me whiting out, but I went right back in and beat it the second time without much issue, netting me my second gym badge. Bird was still slightly overleveled, but barely enough to matter, and it was accidental anyway, but moving forward, I did make it a point to check gym levels ahead of time just to be safe. Before heading out from this town, I needed to take on another of Team Galactic's commanders, Jupiter, to free the town's stolen Pokemon. I reminded them I'm the main character yet again and kicked them out of town, and was rewarded with a bike, meaning I could continue my journey onward. While cutting through Mount Coronet, I ran into a strange man and... uh-oh. His hair. Could he be? I mean, he is talking about how deplorable the world is and how he wants to create a new one. And he does have the Team Galactic logo on his shirt, but he didn't mention anything about honey, so I think we're in the clear, and I doubt we'll run into him again. So we just let him go and hit the road again. We arrived in Hearthome, and while this city does have a gym, and not just any gym, it has the Ghost Gym, luckily we don't have to take it on yet. We'll come back later after beating the next 2 gyms and handle it then, so that's future Matt's problem. However, I've been waiting for this moment. I've been concocting a secret weapon this whole time, and it begins here. By talking to this man right here, he gives me an egg. I won't spoil too much yet, but just you wait until you see what this thing becomes. We also ran into a woman whose hair looks like she's cut out to be a Galactic commander, though luckily this is Fantana, the Hearthome gym leader. Again, like I said, that's a later problem. She hits me with a, "Get stronger so I can fight you," and dips. She's basically Goku now that I think about it. Before we can head back on our journey though, we run into Chocolate, so it's time for another rival battle, and it was basically just as much of a challenge as our previous one, which is to say I destroyed him and sent him crying. The game really opens up at this point, giving you multiple directions to head in, so I got a little aimless here and just started looking around and ended up at the Lost Tower, and let me tell you, this was a mistake. See, we're fixing to get a very, very rude wake-up call about what kind of run this is. This whole time I'm not mentioning every battle, but it has been annoying. Do you know how many random trainers I've battled so far that use Geodude? And not to mention the fact that at this point in the game, I am heavily feeling the fact that all my moves are weak. They're early game moves that I've not been able to replace and have overstayed their welcome. But there's nothing I can do about it. But that's all been manageable. I was ready for that. What I wasn't ready for, however, was encountering my first ghost type. This random, completely optional trainer's Misdreavus. Friendly reminder to those that need it, but normal type moves can't deal any damage to ghost type Pokemon. Obviously, I knew it couldn't be avoided. Before I even began this run, I knew I had to deal with not only the mandatory ghost type gym, but also Flint in the Elite Four has a Drifblim, and Cynthia has a Spiritomb. The thing is, for that stuff, I need to be prepared in advance. I've been planning a strategy for all of them, but this little bastard right here caught me completely off guard. Literally, my only option for it was to wait until we ran out of PP for our moves, meaning either us or him could then struggle to actually end the battle. This took, without any exaggeration, 30 minutes. It finally worked though, but it was quite the reminder that I need to get a strategy for ghost types figured out very soon because I did not want to be doing that again. I continued and encountered a group of Psyduck blocking a path, not moving because of their headaches, and like, I feel it, you know, I get headaches a lot, it happens, but I don't block off entire roads because of it. However, as soon as I hit this roadblock, instead of turning right like the game actually wants me to do, I don't know why, but I decided to instead change direction completely and go down towards Pastoria City. Like, it's fine, there's a gym there too I can go battle, but even watching back my footage, I'm not clear why I made such a stark change of plan. I think I was just worried about Maylene's Lucario and felt Wake would be easier, I'm not sure. Anyway, that's how I ended up at the water type gym, as I said, led by Crasher Wake. I didn't think I'd have any issues, to be honest. Sure, he's got a Gyarados and stuff, but he's a water gym. My normal types have zero issues with any of his Pokemon, so imagine my surprise when he destroys me twice. I couldn't get any of my team a chance to set up enough to kill his Pokemon before he could kill mine, and like, if that doesn't happen, it becomes a teensy bit harder to win. I decided to look around the routes around the city to see if there was any items or anything I could snag and use to come up with a new strategy, but out of the frying pan if you know what I mean. That's right, I ran right into a trainer that had more ghost types. Luckily, her Ghastly killed itself with enough curses, but she had another Misdreavus, and this one managed to wipe my team before I could drain its PP. Stop laughing and grow up. Anyway, this was enough to make me miss Wake, so I popped back in and beat him finally, with my winning strategy this time being Beaver putting them to sleep and more headbutts. I mean, I guess if it ain't broke, right? I started heading back to Veilstone City, and not too much to report on except for this trainer that had a Bronzor and Shield on, both steel types that I could barely touch. Not a fun match, but another reminder that even once I dealt with Fantana and her Ghost Gym, I'd then be immediately dealing with Byron and his Steel Gym, and my very physically offensive team just weren't up to that task, so I began to thinking on who I needed. However, speaking of physically offensive, Bear finally evolved and became even more of a powerhouse for me, with her becoming my main Pokemon in most battles at this point. Didn't hurt that it also learned Slash, which was quite the upgrade to the quick attacks, tackles, and cuts I've been relying on up to this point. I made it to Veilstone and decided I needed to rip off the band-aid and hit up the gym immediately. This one is a fighting type gym, led by Maylene, and if you'll remember, that's my team's weakness, so I really don't have the highest of expectations for this. Doesn't help that our ace is Lucario, who is not only a very strong fighting type, but also part steel type, meaning it's going to resist all my moves as well. However, against all odds, I finally managed to pull off Bird's double team Endeavor quick attack strategy, and I ended up beating the gym first try. It was also at this point that I was reminded that BDSP uses the friendship system from XY, where depending on how much your Pokemon like you, special things can happen, such as them getting increased crit chance, healing themselves from status effects, and in this instance, surviving attacks that would have normally killed them. Is it BS RNG? Yes. Can I do anything about it? Nope. Would I if I could? Also nope. I'm taking every bit of help I can get. Besides, it actually ends up biting me in the ass later on. You'll see when we get there, don't worry. For now though, we take those and that is officially 4 out of the 8 gem badges collected. Before I even have time to process my sweet victory, Lucas comes running up to me saying he dropped his Pokedex and some Galactic grunts called Dibs, so again, guess whose problem it suddenly become. I take care of them though, and I find out they're heading toward Pastoria City, which luckily I can just fly back to. But first, I have a quick pit stop to make. Remember back when I was brainstorming for a good special attacker for my team? Well, I had decided on catching a Hoot Hoot. It evolves into Noctowl, who not only has a well, it's not good, but it's an acceptable special attack stat, all things considered, but more importantly can learn the move Echoed Voice. This is a move that starts out weak, but each consecutive turn you use it, it gets stronger and stronger, meaning if you can get it going, you can snowball through some of the toughest battles like nothing. The only drawback is that you need to actually survive long enough to get that ball rolling, and Noctowl can struggle with that. But still, welcome to the team, Al. To add on to this, I also gave it a Metronome, an item that basically does the same thing, meaning that the potential damage from this thing can get absurd really quickly. I also took this time to check honey trees I had visited. My hope all along had been to get a Munchlax, but that was an extremely slim chance, and spoiler alert, it never worked out. We did, however, end up with an Apom, and once it evolved, it would gain the Technician ability, which boosts weaker moves' power, and newsflash, that's basically all of them that we're working with, so meet Monkey. I also want to say that I found out after the fact that Munchlax can appear in the underground caverns as well. That would have been nice to know. Oops. Anyway, we get back to Pastoria City and I see a Galactic grunt talking to himself about an important package he has to deliver, and upon seeing that I'm nosy as hell, he freaks out and books it. I give chase, only to run into Chocolate, who still insists we should battle even though time is very much of the essence. Bear sweeps his team, and Bunny also evolves now into... oh boy. Yeah, she can stay on the team, I guess. Anyway, we catch up to the grunt and beat him, sending him crying back to his commanders, and we also run into Cynthia again, who tells me of a legend of a special Pokemon that lives in a secret cave in the lake that we conveniently can't access currently. She does at least give me some BC powder for the Psyduck that are blocking the road. A little bit later, Bird also evolved again into Staraptor, and in one of the most painful button presses of my entire life, I had to turn down learning close combat. This challenge sickens me to my core, I hope you know that. Anyway, we go and give the medicine to the Psyduck, and Cynthia conveniently shows back up, which, you know, means why couldn't she just give them the medicine herself? Seems she's not done having me run her errands though, because she gave me an old charm to take to her grandmother in Celestic Town, so I guess that's where we're headed. But first, with all this happening, the last member of the team had arrived. You remember the egg we received? Well, it hatched into a Happiny, and this thing right here, this is it. Our secret weapon. This was my answer to all my ghost-type woes. You see, Happiny can learn the move Copycat. In fact, it already knows it, look at that. And what Copycat does is it will copy and use whatever move was used last, even in enemies. This means that, hypothetically speaking, should a Ghost-type Pokemon happen to hit me with a Shadow Ball or a Confusion or whatever, I can then use Copycat to do the same to them. Is that cheating? I don't think so. I'm not using Shadow Ball or Confusion or whatever. I am literally clicking Copycat, which is very clearly a Normal-type move. I think it's fair game. And if that's not good enough for you, I also decided to teach it the move Swagger. See, while Normal-type damaging moves can't affect Ghost, status moves are fair game, which is a fact I literally did not know until my chance encounter with the Mischievous earlier. What Swagger does is it boosts the enemy's attack, which is scary, yes, but it also confuses them, giving them a chance to attack themselves, and the damage from that is based on its now boosted attack stat. Meaning, if I can get a few Swaggers on a Ghost, I'm only a few lucky hits away from them killing themselves for me. It's extremely, exceedingly, exceptionally, extraordinarily RNG based. Oh, for the non-gamers, that means random basically. But it is possible, and so moving forward, that's become my answer to every single ghost type. I throw an egg, swagger it, spam Copycat, and hope for the best. Okay, I want you to close your eyes and imagine that battle. Can you see it? Is it crystal clear in your head? You can picture it? Great to hear, because I don't have the footage from this point until right after I beat the ghost gym. Yep. I had an OBS issue, and I didn't realize it until I had already done it all. It took me 3 attempts, and I had already saved after it. And I have to say, I was gutted to find out. It was the key part of the entire run to me. My entire thought process leading into this was, how do I even beat Fantina? To have that all taken away, and my options being to either completely restart the run, or continue on and try to figure out how to salvage this video. It was a very hard decision, but I decided to truck on, and just trust me, that ended up not even being remotely the hardest part of the challenge after all. If you want to see me kill ghost types, then you will still get plenty of that in this video, so just sit tight with me. However, I will at least give you a visual representation as I give you a quick recap over everything you've missed. Just pretend this is Jade Animations or something. Okay, y'all caught up? Cool. Now we're in Canalave City, home to the Steel-type gym led by Byron, who happens to be Roark's dad, like father like son I guess. Before heading in though, I set sail to Iron Island for some pre-Byron grinding. You do not want to know how many takes it took for me to say that right. And also to meet up with seriously one of the coolest Pokemon NPCs ever, Riley. Like, seriously, with Cynthia and Riley, Sinnoh knew how to appeal to everyone if you catch my drift. Remember when we partnered up with Cheryl way back in Eterna Forest? Same situation here. We end up running into some Galactic grunts who are, any guesses? Any takers at all? Stealing Pokemon? Did someone say stealing Pokemon? Here's a cookie. Anyway, we beat them and Riley offers me an egg in this trying time. I head back to the Canalave gym to take on Byron, and honestly, my plan with Al worked amazingly. He was even paralyzed by a Steelix. We managed to clutch up and not get fully paralyzed a single time. And he lasted all the way until Byron's last Pokemon, where he did ultimately fall, but he put in the work. I tried to let Bird clean up, but that didn't really go anywhere, and as a Hail Mary, I decided to give Egg a go. I want to preface this by saying I honestly expected Egg to be my ghost-type solution, and to not really see much action on anything else, but it actually ended up being ridiculously strong, and very quickly became a core member of my team. A few minimizes to raise its evasion meant hits were scarce, and even when they did, it was so insanely bulky that it barely mattered. And while it doesn't have the strongest attacking stats in the world, it can also use the power of Echoed Voice to make up for that, being essentially guaranteed to live long enough to get enough off for it to steamroll. That was it, and the 6th gym badge was mine. After my battle, the nerds wanted to have a study session in the library, which was very rudely interrupted by a massive boom that shook the building. A sailor tells us that there's been an explosion at Lake Valor, and once again, guess I'm the only one capable of investigating it, even though, I don't know, someone like the 8th gym leader Volkner is literally right next to it, and is too busy pouting about how boring his life is, and just, I don't get it. Why must the duty to save the world always fall right into the hands of a 10-year-old who is naming their Pokemon things like Bird and Beaver and Egg? I think Sias is right, this world is doomed. Moving past that though, I arrive at Lake Valor to a crater full of grunts and Magikarp flopping around. I make it to the center cave where I confront the remaining commander of Team Galactic, Saturn. He informs me, yes, I've always thought he was a girl, my bad. I mean, he used to look like this, can you blame me? He informs me that they've already captured a legendary Pokemon of this lake, and lets me know Mars has also successfully captured the one over at Lake Verity as well. We're like, bet, and fly there, but no, yeah, he gone, leaving only the one at Lake Acuity way up to the north remaining. I make the long, arduous trek through the snow up to Lake Acuity. Is it Acuity? I don't know. Hey, forgive me for my Pokemon pronunciations, okay? If they cared enough, they would put some voice acting in the games, okay? Through the snow up to Lake Acuity, though there's grunt standing guard there that I can't get past, so I'm instead now supposed to challenge the gym leader here. They sure can't make up their minds on if this is supposed to be my problem or not, but whatever. Time to take on the Snow Point gym, a nice gym led by Candace. Honestly, I didn't expect much issue with this. I mean, there's really nothing to be worried about. She's just an ice type. Oh my god, she has a Medicham. Well, down go Monkey, Bear, and Owl. However, I'm able to send in Bird, and after a very close call, I'm able to use Bird's usual Endeavor strat to clutch out the win and get my 7th badge. I pop back over to the now very conveniently unguarded Lake Acuity entrance and catch the tail end of Jupiter and Chocolate's battle, and luckily he also completely mopped the floor with her and saved the oh my god, I can't say that with a straight face. No, he gets destroyed. They steal the last Pokemon and Chocolate begins his Joker arc before storming off. Guess not everyone can be the main character now, can they? I head back to Veilstone City to storm Galactic HQ, which, just like, how is the evil villain corporation able to just have a very clearly threatening looking HQ in one of the largest cities in the game? The damn thing has spikes on it for Christ's sake, but whatever. We get the key and raid it, ending up at Cyrus's office, where we finally get to battle the big boss of the game. And like, I just noticed this, but does he not look like the love child of Voldemort and Ninja? Seriously, I'm pretty sure this dude could have had the most loving parents and the best childhood imaginable. I don't think any of that matters, he was doomed. No wonder he's all like, fine, I'll just go make my own world then. I ended up wiping the floor with him, and he's all like, whatever, doesn't matter, I won anyway, go free your pathetic legendary Pokemon, I have no need for them anymore. However, Saturn didn't get the memo and insists on battling me still, and it goes just like it did, let me check, oh yeah, 2 minutes ago. Like, what the hell did he expect? We defeat him and free the legendary trio, and Saturn tells me that Cyrus has used their power to create a red chain, which he plans on using to shackle something on top of Mount Coronet, and well, guess I'll just start heading in that direction then. I make my way through the mountain, battling grunts along the way, and something pretty critical happened here. Remember how Egg so far has been my answer to ghost types? Well, it wanted to learn the move Soft Boiled, which would be a nice healing move to have on her. I don't know why, I think maybe Copycat was just never really benefiting me, and Swagger was doing the job for the most part, but I decided to have it forget Copycat in lieu of Soft Boiled, and this was a mistake. You're gonna hear all about this in a few minutes. Moving past that though, we finally managed to reach the summit known as Spear Pillar and find Cyrus, but we're too late, as he's using the red chain to summon forth Palkia, the legendary Pokemon that rules over all of space. He's successful and Palkia appears, who promptly begins turning the sky into a 12-year-old's gaming PC, and Cyrus makes a declaration that he will be having Palkia destroy this world and create a new one where he'll be the ruler. Before I can confront him, I stop for a double battle with both Mars and Jupiter, but luckily Chocolate shows up just in time to save me. Phew, what on earth would I have done without him? Just as Palkia begins his creation of the new world, the Lake Trio show up and destroy the red chain, freeing him from Cyrus's control. Cyrus takes it about as well as you'd expect, and oh, look at the little guy, he's so angry. Anyway, we battle again, and once again, it's not really anything worth noting. We defeat him, and he's all like, "This doesn't matter, I'll make my own world, just see, one day I'll be God," and runs off, and he isn't ever seen again, so yay, day saved. Except that Palkia is still here, and pretty angry. Professor Rowan shows up and says that it looks like Palkia is counting on me to stop it, and I'm like, if I have to. But I can help. With all of that finally behind us, it's time for me to head to Sunny Shore City to take on the final gym leader, the electric type specialist Volkner. We're stopped as we enter the city by Flint, a member of the Elite Four. He tells us that Volkner has lost his passion, and as I mentioned before, he's off pouting. He's become bored with his life as gym leader because obviously, have you seen the competition lately? Chocolate has managed to beat them all so far, for God's sake. Flint tells me that if I'm not able to give Volkner a good enough battle to reignite his passion, he's gonna quit and go take on the Elite Four, and I really just don't understand why he doesn't do that. Like, what's stopping you, dude? Finding another gym leader? I don't think it's a super high bar at this point. How about, yeah, this guy, the biker with Cleffa in Lost Tower. Yeah, he's good. Make him the new leader. You can go live your life. But whatever, we'll tell Flint we'll give him a good battle, and I'll go grab Volkner from the top of the lighthouse. He's just staring through the binoculars all day. No wonder he's so bored. My God. I headed to the gym, and it's a pretty uneventful battle. Monkey, Bear, and Owl went down, but Bunny managed to clean up, and that was basically it. And of course, it's the best battle he's had in ages, so I can't fathom the absolute drivel he's had to put up with to get to this point. But with that done, I received my 8th and final gym badge. The only thing left is getting through Victory Road and taking on the Pokemon League. I run into Jasmine, a gym leader from the Johto region, and every single time I play a Sinnoh game, I completely forget she's here, and it actually always makes me go, "Hey, it's Jasmine!" So that's a nice moment at least. Enjoy it though, because what we have coming up is a lot of pain and misery. I get through Victory Road without too much of an issue, but I reach the doors of the Pokemon League. Let me preface everything coming up by saying I knew it'd be hard. I mean, I've done this before, and like I said, in a very normal casual playthrough, with zero restrictions on me, I still came to a screeching halt the moment I challenged the Elite Four, and to add on top of that, I am pretty severely underleveled. Again, just for anyone who is unfamiliar with how this works, a normal Pokemon game consists of beating all 8 gyms, then taking on the Pokemon League. That consists of the Elite Four, and then finally taking on the champion. All 5 of these battles must be taken in a row without the ability to leave or heal. You have a chance to heal between battles using items you have, but that can dwindle fast if you're not prepared. Walking through those doors is a commitment that you're either coming out the champion or you're losing to somebody and starting back at the first one. I made sure I was prepared, took a deep breath, and went to walk in. And then Chocolate comes running in and demands I battle him first. Yep, figures, thanks bud, you ruined the entire moment. Now, let me make one thing clear. I knew this would be hard, but I was still pretty confident I could pull it off. I was actually only concerned about 2 of the Pokemon I'd be facing, not even 2 trainers, I mean literally 2 Pokemon out of the combined 26 that awaited me behind those doors. This would, not be the case. I headed inside to take on the first Elite Four member, Aaron, a bug-type specialist. I tried Owl with his echoed voice spam first, but that didn't work out too well, and pivoted to Bird, but he also died before he could do anything meaningful. Bear, Monkey, and Bunny all made a group effort, and we got to Aaron's Drapion, his ace. And Egg almost had the win, but not good enough, and that is attempt 1 over already. Also, look at this. Look at this insane luck I got. The game was trying so hard to give me a free win. Monkey was just refusing to die. But none of it mattered. For attempt 2, I wanted to try a new strategy that I haven't mentioned so far because I haven't had a good way to take advantage of it. See, Bear has the ability Guts, an incredibly powerful ability, which doubles its attack when it's affected by a status condition like poison or burn. Knowing now that Aaron's lead Pokemon Dustox had the move Toxic, which would poison me, I decided to take advantage of that and let Bear just go into a rage and mow down everything on his team. However, remember when I said that little luck mechanic where the Pokemon love me and special things happen? Well, Bear just refused to stay poisoned. She would seriously just auto-heal it off, and every single time it was the biggest facepalm moment I could have. Seriously, this happened so many times. So there, it gave me some free wins, but it also made my life a hell of a lot harder because had I been able to take full advantage of Guts, a lot of these battles would have gone very differently. And what rubs the salt in the wound even more is he is literally using a Guts Heracross with the same strategy. However, despite Bear failing, Al managed to get a good sweep going and cleared things up for us all the way to Drapion once again. And this time, we managed to secure the win with Bird and Bunny cleaning up. I also want to say, just for transparency's sake, between these battles, I did save scum. One, because so many of my strategies were pretty reliant on complete RNG BS. I was running Bear with a Razor Claw hoping for crits even. When I managed to win, I didn't want to have to wait 2,000 years for the planets to align once again like an Avatar. And the other reason is because, honestly, if I kept just running through everybody again, I'd be getting experience like crazy and I would end up overleveled whether I liked it or not. And that was something I still desperately wanted to avoid. So that all said, I head into the next room to challenge Bertha, the ground type Elite Four member. I again was naive and thought, well, I don't have any issues with ground, and 2 of my powerhouses are even immune to it. What could honestly go wrong? I'll tell you what can go wrong. Sudowoodo. I have never hated a fake tree as much as I did this stupid thing. I couldn't get any of my previously used strats to work. Bird would get killed before it could get enough double teams off. Al would just get one shot by her golem. Sudowoodo refused to miss any head smashes on Egg. Quagsire was just Quagsire. I gave it 4 attempts and decided that I did need to grind up some more levels after all. I ran around Victory Road getting a couple more levels for everyone. I was still underleveled, but not as bad now. We managed to beat Aaron first try at least, so that was reassuring. But this time for Bertha, Egg managed to clutch up against a Sudowoodo with some help from the game, and Bird was able to come in and pull off his usual strat to get the dub finally. And guess what? This was still not the hardest part. We moved on to the next room. Flint, you guys remember him, right? Well, he's the fire specialist, if you couldn't tell. Like, look at this. What even is this? Bertha flat out has 4 dust sprayers in her room. This poor woman is going to be in an iron lung 2 weeks from now, mark my words. Where was I? Oh yeah, Flint. See, Flint has a Drifblim, one of the few ghost types that I knew was inevitable. However, I was thinking this wouldn't be an issue. I mean, after all, ghosts aren't exactly something I have to be worried about anymore. I just keep swaggering and let them kill themselves, right? Well, Flint's Drifblim is built a tad different. I do think this was the Pokemon I struggled on the most out of the entire run. It has a truly evil moveset, where it can not only minimize, which as Egg can attest to, is extremely annoying, but it can also Baton Pass, a move that allows a Pokemon to swap out and carry over its stat changes to the next Pokemon. Meaning his game plan with it is to spam minimize and become almost untargetable, then Baton Pass that to something like, oh I don't know, his fighting type Infernape, and proceed to sweep my entire team while I can't land a single goddamn move on him. This is also the single worst possible case for my Swagger strat. See, Swagger boosts their attack, right? And the Drifblim doesn't even have a single actual attacking move, meaning I had no worry about the potential downside of Swagger. However, his Baton Pass would move those same attack boosts over to the Infernape, turning my 1% chance of managing to clutch out a victory into an impossible one. He would absolutely one-shot everything on my team, and I'd be able to do absolutely nothing about it. And the icing on the cake is the fact that Swagger is only 80% accurate anyway. This means that as Drifblim spans minimize, the odds become extremely unlikely that I can even manage to get a single Swagger hit on him to begin with. Add on to the fact that even if I can hit him with it, that's still absolutely not a guarantee of anything. I have to get lucky and have Swagger hit, and then I have to keep getting lucky that Drifblim will keep hitting itself. And I have to do all of this before he decides to Baton Pass to Infernape. And even if I manage to hit the Swagger, and if Drifblim keeps hitting itself enough times to get low on health, Flint has 2 full restores, which not only fully heal his Drifblim, it also cures the confusion, just as an extra middle finger to me. This means I have to hit Swagger on him consistently enough that it can stay confused, have its attack boosted, keep hitting itself instead of minimizing or baton passing, and do that enough times to basically kill itself 3 times over. I hope I've driven home the ridiculousness of this challenge. I tried over and over and over and over and over and over again. I lost to this stupid combo 9 times in a row. I just could not get the stars to align even close enough to give me the luck I needed to pull this off. I needed a new strategy, and I needed one I could implement without having to leave the Elite Four, meaning I could only use what I had on me. I looked at my team, I looked at my bag, and it dawned on me. The problem I'm having isn't killing the Drifblim. I can do that just by stalling it out long enough that it will kill itself by struggling, just like I did with the Mischievous I encountered forever ago. Yeah, it would suck, but it was easily doable. The problem was killing it before it could baton pass to the Infernape, and it clicked. I had the TM for the move Roar, a move that forces the opponent's Pokemon to swap out against their will, and which won't carry over their stat boost. What I could simply do was teach Roar to Bear, and when Flint sends in his Drifblim, I could simply just roar at it and make him instead change to his Infernape, which would be quite killable without the evasion boost. I locked in with this new strategy and began a brand new attempt. And you know something? It worked. It worked beautifully. This was a moment that truly made me appreciate how this challenge has made me think. It forced me to be resourceful with what I had to solve the problem at hand. He swapped to Infernape, I took it out, and then slowly let the Drifblim exhaust his PP. Seriously, I said grow up. It died, and the battle was won. Now, are you ready for a breath of fresh air? The final member of the Elite Four was Lucian, the Psychic type user. I've said it a million times before, but I didn't actually expect to have any issues against him. And for once, maybe for the first time in this entire challenge, I was right. I managed to sweep most of his team with simply Monkey. The only issue I had was against his Bronzong, which I was expecting since, you know, Steel types can be a little tough, but it was never a moment that I was worried. Just a matter of simply willing its health down over and over until Lucian finally ran out of his full restores, and the battle was won. There was now only one battle left between me and completion of this challenge. I headed into the final chamber to confront the champion of the Sinnoh League, Cynthia herself. I knew Cynthia was tough, but despite all the odds showing me I should really be a little more cautious, I was still optimistic I could pull it off. I knew she had a Spiritomb, the final ghost type I'd be forced to fight. And unlike Flint's Drifblim, which required me to take out most of his team before I could even get the chance to battle it, Cynthia leads with her Spiritomb, meaning if things don't go well, I can just reset and no harm no foul. I lead with Egg, and the battle has begun. I began my minimized Swagger spam, and immediately I realized something I hadn't considered. The pressure. No, not the literal pressure of the challenge, but pressure, Spiritomb's ability. It makes moves that target him use 2 PP per use instead of 1. It's honestly a pretty middling ability and not something most are ever concerned with, but when my strategy requires a long drawn out battle of luck, I need all the PP on Swagger I can get. I started having to be resourceful pretty early on, only use Swagger when Spiritomb wasn't already confused, because I couldn't afford to waste a single turn of confusion, and oh my god, the sheer amount of times it managed to snap itself out of confusion in just one turn was absurd. I don't know what the odds are, but pretty sure this thing was just dream incarnate at this point, because how could this even be possible? It would constantly snap out of confusion immediately, and the rare times it didn't, it would almost never attack itself. It was just toying with me. I was having to use moves like Echoed Voice, knowing it would do no damage, minimize when I was already at max evasion, and Soft Boiled when I was already full health, just because each use of Swagger had to count. After 2 attempts, I did manage to luck out enough to get through it, and I honestly thought I was in the clear. She sent out Lucario, a Pokemon I've dealt with already. I could just manage to get some Echoed Voices going, and oh wow, it hit me? Okay, that's fine. My evasion's still maxed out. Surely it was just a oh, okay. Wow, this is really annoying, but luckily I'm getting my spam on it. Oh, okay, Egg's dead. Apparently Aura Sphere never misses. This was a fact I did not know until I demanded to check the replay. The rest of my team could barely touch Lucario before he'd proceed to 1 or 2 shot them, and I was back to another Spiritomb attempt. I tried 3 more attempts, and I failed 3 more attempts. I could manage to squeak through Spiritomb each time, but Lucario was always there to force me back to where I belonged. At this point, I had no idea what to do. I took the time to reassess just like I did with Flint. There had to be an answer somewhere. Egg should have been able to get through with enough Echoed Voices. I mean, after all, she could always survive at least 3 turns against Lucario. even if he nasty plotted, which boosts his special attack, by the way. Man, if only I could just Aura Sphere him right back, that would teach him. I mean, he's a steel type, he thinks he's so big and tough, but I bet he can't tank as many of those hits. And click goes my light bulb. Remember back when I said deleting Copycat was a mistake? If I could manage to get a heart scale, I could teach Egg Copycat again, and we could give Cynthia a taste of her own medicine. I mean, after all, it would also make battling the Spiritomb trivial as well. Heart scales are rare, but there is actually a way to get an infinite amount of them with just a little bit of luck, which if you can't tell, I have in spades. The Underground. Remember when I said it wasn't just a place to get Pokemon, but you could dig in the walls? Well, one of the rewards you can find in the walls are heart scales. I just needed to go look around until I found a single one, and all my answers would be solved. I headed on down and got to smacking. You know, I always enjoyed this minigame. I loved playing it back in the originals. I loved that the remakes brought it back. It was a very much needed break from the aneurysm I had brewing from battling Cynthia, and not even 20 minutes later, I found my prize. I had Egg relearn Copycat, and I also took the time to scour the map looking for every single ether, elixir, and PP up I could find, and now that I was properly prepared, I braced myself and headed through those doors one last time. We began our battle with Aaron and used the owl strat, and guess what? It worked beautifully without a hitch. We moved on to Bertha and used the same strat, and once again, was as smooth as it possibly could have been. Could it be? Could things finally be working out for me? I headed into Flint, and my Bear Roar strat was able to handle the Drifloon again, and this time, instead of PP stalling, I was able to Copycat Will-O-Wisp back onto it, burning it and whittling its health down that way. Once again, first try we were through Flint, and before I could blink, we breezed through Lucian as well. We once again were face to face with Cynthia. For one last time, we began our battle. If I couldn't manage to beat her even with this final change, I was giving up right then and there. Right off the bat, Copycat was absolutely able to help with the Spiritomb, but it was still a very lengthy process, and it took over 10 minutes just for her to end up withdrawing it and tossing in Lucario instead. Alert, alert, this is not a drill, people. I repeat, this is not a drill. I turned my non-existent hat backwards, locked in, and began the Copycat spam. Lucario nasty plotted, and Egg did the same. Lucario nasty plotted again, which was the single most terrifying thing it could have done. Lucario's attacks would now be doing 3 times the amount of damage of normal, and Egg had previously only been able to tank 3 hits from him. At this point, I was convinced this run was over. Egg would die to a single Aura Sphere and not be able to return to favor, and it would have all been for nothing. I couldn't do anything about it. So I clicked Copycat one last time. Lucario charged and fired his Aura Sphere, and Egg was hit, her health plummeting. Egg survived at 9 HP and fired back, one-shotting the Lucario. Oh my god, she had done it. The plan had worked. However, this battle was still not over. I had purely knocked out one of her Pokemon, but 5 more remained. Cynthia sent in Gastrodon, and I decided my best bet for now was to simply spam Echo Voice. I mean, Lucario had ever so kindly given Egg a 3-time special attack boost. I absolutely can't afford to let this moment go to waste. It didn't do a ton of damage, but that's okay. Just had to get that snowball rolling, right? Luckily, Gastrodon continues missing his attacks, and Egg continues building up its power. Gastrodon falls, and I realize I had a monster on my team.
Vegeta, explain! What are you...
You see,
Cynthia,
you aren't dealing with the average
Blissey,
anymore.
Oh my god!
He has risen above and become a legend. The legend that you fear. He has become a...
Egg,
The Evasion Max, the double nasty plotted tank, who is now fixing to go on to their 3rd Echoed Voice, and then their 4th. Cynthia's team was dropping like flies, but I wasn't going to get complacent. She set in her Milotic, a specially defensive wall. If anything was going to be able to stop Egg, it would be this. But Egg laughs in the face of danger and one-shots it. Cynthia sends her Spiritomb back out, which brings my Echoed Voice spam to a screeching halt. I Copycat and hit it back with his own Shadow Ball, and Cynthia falls to her last remaining Pokemon, her Ace Garchomp. An insanely strong pseudo-legendary. Garchomp just needed 1 Earthquake to hit to destroy Egg and wipe my whole team. Meanwhile, Egg has to get the Echoed Voice powered back up. Garchomp Swords danced on his first turn, doubling his attack and making absolutely sure that Egg would fall here. The rest of my team won't stand a chance. Egg lands an Echoed Voice, dealing about 1/3 of its health and damage. It all came down to this last turn. If Garchomp's Earthquake managed to hit, he would continue to wipe the rest of my team without question. If he missed, though, this battle was won. Can we cue the Jacob Alpharad music really quick? And just like that, Cynthia was defeated. I had officially managed to beat BDSP with not only normal type Pokemon exclusively, but normal type moves. This wasn't just a challenge, it was a journey. There were surprises, there were upsets, there were clutches, and there was Riley. But through it all, I had managed to defeat all that was before me. I felt such an extreme wave of pride as my team were entered into the Hall of Fame. Egg, the undisputed MVP of this entire run. The amount of respect I gained for Blissey after this is insane, and I could have very literally not been able to pull this off without her. Bear, the carry for my mid game and most of my late game. The surprise addition to my team that excelled at just outputting raw damage without any special gimmick. Bird, the member of my team that has been on the longest, with its scummy yet effective double team Endeavor quick attack strat helping me tear through steel and rock types alike. Monkey, the oft overlooked member of my team, who was an excellent backup with Bear when it came to outputting raw damage with its Silk Scarf and Technician boosted double hits decimating Lucian. Owl, at times a liability, but other times a powerhouse that could obliterate teams once it was allowed to get rolling, as Aaron and Bertha just witnessed firsthand. And Bunny, the eye candy, I guess. Hey, you quick attacked the Infernape that one time, I guess, so go you, buddy. I've always wanted to set out and actually complete a challenge like this, and I love how resourceful it made me think. It turned the game into a puzzle, and when I set out, I wasn't even sure if it was possible, but I feel so proud that I was able to figure out everything I needed to. And when things got tough, I didn't take the easy way out, I buckled down and looked for a new strategy, and to have it all pay off feels amazing. So now that I've successfully pushed through and tasted sweet victory, will I ever be doing a challenge like this again? Absolutely not. Stay poppin'. Hey, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching this video. I have spent literally months working on it, trying to make it live up to my standards of what my first video on the channel should be. And if you're listening to this right now, just know it means the absolute world to me. The playthrough wasn't perfect by any means, and especially while editing, there were several parts that bugged me, so, I mean, who knows? Maybe I'll try a similar challenge again eventually and try not to bend any rules along the way, because, I mean, seriously, being overleveled for a couple gems was a huge cheat in my eyes. Also, surely if you are still here, it means you somewhat enjoyed the video, or you at least just, you know, hate watched it to the end, which may as well be the same thing as far as YouTube's concerned. So if you could also, you know, just do me the solace favor and sub to the channel for future videos. I have a few I've been planning on and wanted to wait until after I drop this video to start pumping out the others. But I'm also always open to feedback and ideas on what y'all think I should try giving a go. I also occasionally stream over on Twitch, twitch.tv/SoulsBay, where I've been playing a variety of games of not only Pokemon, been doing a little Yoshi's Island run that is maybe one stream away from being done, and I keep rage quitting. And I've done Clone Hero, you know, so it would also mean a lot if you swing by, give me a follow there. It's completely free, helps me out. My final shill is just I want to let you know I also have another channel called Snack Pack Gaming with my friends Squid and Duende. Links in the description. We just try playing some funny games and see what, you know, what happens. We've been slow recently, but I'll give it a push to try to get content going over there again. So in the meantime, I recommend, I like both the content warning videos. I think those are great. I did also attempt an Emerald Rogue video earlier this year, so if you like this video, you'll probably like that one too, so, you know, maybe go give it a watch. That's all. I just, you know, wanted to have a little message here at the end saying thank you for watching and supporting me, and I'm hoping I can keep the quality content coming your way, so stay boppin'.
手を伸ばせば届きそうな星空物欲しそうな理想は歌わないけどスターライン見上げたまま今度君に会えたなら世界が変えられたらいいなとか願い叶えられたらいいなとか思うけど